7:40, coming out to 7:41 in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the Gaslight Tinkers, no one is not the typical Trinidad and Tobago thing where I left out the H. It is tinkers, as in tinkering and interfering with things. So not thinkers, it's the Gaslight Tinkers. We'll be at the Backyard tomorrow in Victoria Avenue from 5:30 for an artistic exchange with local artists. So, commonly known as a jam session. It's going to be, as I said, at 5:30. They blend core traditional New England old-time and Celtic fiddle music with the indigenous music of Trinidad and Tobago. That should be quite interesting. We're joined now by three personalities who are going to give us information on that. Close to me, we have Audrey Canute. We have Garrett Sawyer, who actually spent some time in Trinidad and Tobago in the early 2000s in Maracas, St. Joseph. So he probably understands the lingo a little better than some of our other guests, but he's also from the United States. And we have Peter Siegel, originally from New York, and joining us as well. By the way, I think originally from Hawaii?
Yeah.
Barack Obama's state. If you believe Republicans that he wasn't born there and you don't have a birth certificate or anything. That's a whole story by itself.
We won't go there.
Yeah, good to have you. Good to have you with us. Tell us, Audrey, tell us a bit about Gaslight Tinkers. What's the band all about?
Oh gosh, well, we all come from very different genres of music, and we've gotten together and decided how we can possibly combine all of them. So we kind of think of ourselves as world beat fusion. I play traditional fiddle music, like Irish music, American. And they also have different backgrounds, and so trying to combine them has been so much fun.
And because of your Trininess to a certain degree, how did this thing actually come together, this arrangement for the Backyard to have this event tomorrow?
Well, I played in Atlantic, the soca band, in 2000-2001, and I played with Kurt Allen and Destra and Ronnie McIntosh. And at the time, I'd come here to work in a recording studio, but Kurt and I became close friends and stayed in touch through the years, and so after he built the Backyard, he decided to bring us down.
And what is actually going to be happening with the performance?
What's going to be happening is going to be a jam session, so it'll be the Gaslight Tinkers playing, and we will be joined by guest artists including Kurt Allen and Chocolate Allen and Helon Francis and Indigenous Movement, and there'll be spoken word and there'll be dance, and it's going to be a whole performance. It'll be great. And
so it's going to be just the one performance? What is going to be happening after that?
After
after the performance on Wednesday,
yeah.
Are you doing any other things while you're here in Trinidad and Tobago?
We're doing a performance at a school, and possibly one or two things that we're still lining up, and then we're headed home the next night.
Okay, and Peter Siegel, tell us a bit about yourself and your involvement as a member of the Gaslight Tinkers.
Well, going back a few years, I grew up around a lot of folk music in the New York City area. Some people might be familiar with Pete Seeger, who did a lot of folk music in the United States. And that music really influenced me to be singing songs of the people. And I spent a lot of time playing folk music. I got together with Garrett years later and said, we really need to sort of break down barriers and sort of bring all music together. And Garrett was playing with a group called the Alchemistics, which were doing fusion of funk, rap, soca, reggae, all that stuff. And so we kind of just brought it together. The two of us sort of had a meeting over coffee and said, how could we make this thing happen? And lo and behold, we got a fiddler, we got a drummer, and we rehearsed a whole bunch, and we've been doing gigs in the U.S., coast to coast, for the last 3 or 4 years.
How vibrant is that scene? Because, I mean, for those of us looking on from the outside, you all remember the flower power era of the 60s and the 70s and the folk music and how powerful that was during that era of transformation. Is it still as resonant with modern America, the folksy type music?
America is a complex and divided and united place in many ways,
especially in election season.
Especially in election season. And coming from New York, I'll say that folk music has become, in a lot of ways, has become an elite thing, which is a really odd, that really pained people like Pete Seeger, who was a legend, and so the idea of bringing it back down to the roots, and honestly, the roots of world music and bringing music from West Africa, the Caribbean, music from New Orleans, music from all these places together, where people are just dancing to the sort of, middle-class people of New York who are sitting sitting there with their hands full to listening to people singing about social justice, is really sort of the way, that's the way I see that music evolving, is you really want people not just to be singing from, from their brains, but dancing with their hearts and their bodies as well. And so a lot of what we do is music of content and of cultural content as well. We sing songs of people like Woody Guthrie, who was a troubadour from the United States, but we sing it with kind of a Caribbean and Afrobeat vibe. So that's really, we're trying to bring those things together, I guess.
And Audrey, why do you do this? Is it to be this huge commercial success?
I get paid so much money to do this, and just like...
It's fun.
It's who I am. It's absolutely who I am. I can't imagine doing anything else in my life.
But isn't there this temptation to go more commercial, more, Madonna type
Why would I do it if I didn't
Rihanna
have...
type thing?
I know we've got the bodies for it, but we just decided,
But look,
That's a good, I mean, it's a fair question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I absolutely love what I'm doing, and I can imagine if I were to try to go to that commercial success, it's not who I am. And part of the great thing about this band is that we are spreading happiness and joy and watching people dancing and having a very positive effect on people. And I think that's been the biggest impact. And yeah.
Well, guys, you've seen a lot of people dancing in Trinidad and Tobago, and so you know all about the Caribbean vibe.
I can't do it, though.
It's a little different in the States.
Yeah, it's slightly different. But
I'm not going to try.
How did you all come up with the name, the Gaslight Tinkers? Give us a sense about that.
Well, so the name comes from sort of this concept of taking the old and the traditional and transforming it into something new and creating something new out of it. So gaslights, and back in the 1800s, they were how people brought illumination. And they're how people, lit up the dark nights and all the symbolism that goes with that. And so the concept is taking this thing that brings light and combining different things and changing them and tinkering with them and creating something new out of the traditional.
And is there a space for that still in the because Peter made the point that sometimes it becomes fashionable to sound rootsy. Sure. It becomes fashionable for the hoity-toities to appear as if they're so interested in all these ground level movements when really they just want to keep things running a certain way. Do you think that it still resonates with the people you're trying to reach out to?
I do, and one thing that is wonderful about the United States is that because it's so fragmented, there's a niche for just about everything. And there's a ton of music festivals there that we play in all these different sort of little corners. And it works, and people like it, and we have a great time, and so that's why we do it.
And Peter, give us a sense as to, I don't know how much exposure or experience you would have had with Trini music, Caribbean music, and but obviously you would have had some, given what you've told us about. But what are you anticipating? What are you looking forward to that's going to be happening tomorrow?
I think what actually happened at the Backyard a few days ago is really just getting together with people who are here and connecting and realizing there was a reading there the other day that we did some music for, and it was just really neat to sort of be interacting and hanging out with people who basically are just like people at where we come from. I mean, it really is not. Honestly, it was not like anywhere else. They were doing spoken word, we were playing music, we were having a great time, and it was like we were at home.
By the way, I think you guys brought your musical instruments with you?
We did, yeah.
So are there anywhere close by that you could give us a sampling with?
Give us a couple of minutes. We could probably give us a commercial break. We might be able to
probably don't have the time. We don't have the time for that, unfortunately. But just to remind everybody again that it's going to be the Gaslight Tinkers. Should I say from New England? Is that based where? In Boston or?
The other side of the state. It's Massachusetts and Vermont.
Okay, Massachusetts and Vermont. That's where the two escapees got away some time ago. Fortunately, they caught up with them eventually. But they're going to be performing at the Backyard, Victoria Avenue, 5:30 tomorrow. You can get all the information from the Backyard and their website, and it should be what they call an interesting jam session for those who will be inclined to follow what will be happening there. Thanks very much for joining us this morning, and welcome back to Trinidad and Tobago. I suppose I have to say, Garrett, and I suppose you'll catch up with all of those you were jamming with in 13, 14 years ago, and let's see how things go from there. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. We'll take a break and come back right after this.